Hello, everyone, and welcome to Experiencers Network on the Aquarian Radio Network. And my name is Janet Lessin, and my co-host Andrew Aloha, Andrew Aloha may be joining us. He wasn't sure he's going to get back in time, but either way, it's good. And my guest today is Sev Tok, and let me see what I have about her. Millions of people are having ET contact and don't even know it. Are you one of them? Sev Tok is coming out about her lifelong ET contact. And in this episode of our show, Experiencers Network, she'll explain the fundamentals of ET contact, how it fits in with your life purpose, and how to safely talk with ETs. She has a new book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, and it's her coming out about her ET contact since childhood. And Sev is divulging her lifelong secret to help millions of people having ET contact, many of whom don't even know it. She was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and she came to America as a little girl. Her ET contact started in elementary school and continued for decades. She kept her ET experiences secret for 45 years until 2017, when Grace marked her with a red X. This catapulted Sev into an emotional journey of discovery about who she is, and she learned who we are and our role in the intergalactic neighborhood. So she's been speaking out and writing about conscious creation for over a decade, talking about the multidimensionality of humans, interdimensional communication, how to communicate with ETs, and how to fulfill your life purpose. And she's going to be appearing at the Alien Con Baltimore, and that's her first public appearance speaking about her ET contact. And she lived in Baltimore City for 20 years, and many of her ET experiences happened there. And she recently moved to the Inner Banks of North Carolina, and there she came face-to-face with Grace. So this is a very interesting story. I have a full bio and pictures on aquarianradio.com. Please go there and do a search on Sev, S-E-V-T-O-K, Talk. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to pull her on right now and say aloha. Hi, welcome to our show.
Aloha. It's a pleasure to spend my evening with you and your listeners.
Yes, this is a delight having you. So I talked to a lot of experiencers, and I'm so excited because for years, I'm older than you, I'm sure. I'm 65. So for years, I was all alone. Where are the other contactees? And so now a lot of people are writing books and they're having their coming out experiences. So I want to just take this time to thank you for coming and to listen to you. So go ahead and start telling us your story, and I'll listen for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll ask you questions now and again, and we'll just keep dialoguing till we either run out of time or run out of steam, whichever comes first. So go ahead, take it away,
All right,
Sev.
Janet. Thank you. It started when I was a little girl, and my first memories of being in contact with an extraterrestrial was when I was 10. And these were very pleasant experiences. This big craft would come, and I would be standing looking up at it, and each time it came from a different direction, and I'd be looking up at the bottom of this craft, and it would land, and this young man would come out, and he'd talk to me, and he was just checking up on me, making sure I was okay. And whenever I saw him, I was so happy. It was like seeing a brother. And this went on until I was around 12 or so, and I never said anything to anybody. And when I popped back to my 3D reality, I'd be in my bedroom, and then I'd have to get dressed and go to 5th grade. And I just kept it completely to myself. I didn't even tell my parents, who were believers, but for some reason, I just didn't want to tell anybody. I wasn't 100% convinced that it was a real experience at that age, although it felt completely real.
Was that in Turkey or here in the U.S.?
That was in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. It was here.
Oh, cool.
And So the last time he came to visit, I was with a group of kids, and I had never been with a group of kids before. And as his ship goes off, we're just standing there watching it go off, and I knew that I wasn't going to see him. And I knew that we were left to do what we came to do. There wasn't anything specific. It was just this knowing. And I was very aware of these children around me, and I didn't look in their faces, but I knew they were around my age. And I was wondering, who are these kids and where do they come from? And that was it. I do believe now I'm starting to meet some of these kids, and I think I've met a couple. I believe there's more that I am to meet, and that we all came here, maybe not from the same planet or the same galaxy, but we definitely came here to do similar work.
Now, let me ask you a couple of questions. So the person, the species that you met with, this first encounter, they were humanoid? What did they look like?
Yes, he looked like a young guy in his 20s or 30s, trim, and he had on a black top and black pants, but I can't remember if it was one piece or two piece, and he had dark hair, and he was attractive. And the only thing that really caught my eye that was different were his ears. They were just slightly almond-shaped, a little bigger than ours and a little almond-shaped. That's really the only difference I noticed.
Have you ever seen anybody who looked like him when you search the internet, when you look at other humanoid extraterrestrial species, anything even close to what he looked like?
Yes.
If you haven't. Oh, you have?
Yes, I have, and I laugh when I think about it because it's going to sound crazy.
No, nothing's crazy. But go ahead.
There are some that are very similar in how they look. For instance, Paul McCartney and Elon Musk. There's a similarity to them, and he resembled them. Now, I've never been at that time. I don't even know if I knew who Paul McCartney was at that time, quite frankly. So. And of course, I didn't know who Elon Musk was, but it's that kind of dark hair and the face being kind of a mix of childish and adult, and with that kind of energy.
Oh, interesting. Now, how old did this humanoid appear to be?
I was 10, so to me, he looked like he was in his late 20s or early 30s.
Awesome. Now, the other children, were they all same color or different races? Were they all humans or humanoid?
I was just humans. I felt that they were
all
kids, but I didn't turn my head to look into their faces. We were all just fixated on watching the spaceship just go off into the horizon, and we didn't talk to each other. We were just aware of each other, and then I bounced out of the experience.
Wow.
And
okay.
For the rest of my life,
continue.
For the rest of my life, I've been having experiences, but just always really wondering, am I making this up? Is this real? In my heart, I knew it was real, but I didn't feel comfortable telling anybody. I was just really afraid that people were going to think I was crazy, and I really didn't get over that until last summer when I wrote my book. My book was my coming out because of something that happened here, where I live here, that really pushed me to the limits of understanding and accepting what's been happening to me my whole entire life. I've had so many marks on my body that I can't explain. I had a rectangle sliced out of my back. I had all kinds of bruises, and I had a scoop mark, all the things that you hear about. But I would just just look at them and go, oh, isn't that interesting? A bug bit me in a perfect triangle. Or, oh, how did I get that scoop mark? And it didn't even bleed. There's no blood, not even a scab. Oh, my God.
Right. Now,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Where was it? Where was the mark on your back?
The X marks or the rectangle?
The mark that you had on your back. I had one on my back, and it was right where I couldn't reach. You know, like if you were to stretch your hand over your head and try to touch that area and even come up from below, it was like right where I could not reach no matter what. But I didn't even notice it at first. My husband at the time said, what in the world happened to your back, right, when I was getting dressed. So, and it was a I think it was a triangle or it was a perfect shape, not like a bug. It looked like a puncture mark. So tell me about yours in your back. Where was that, and what was that like? And I wouldn't let anybody take a picture of it too. I kind of freaked out, but it was there. Go ahead.
Well, I had a rectangle slice out of my back, and then that was when I was living on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and I didn't even feel that. My boyfriend saw it, and it was still bleeding when he saw it. Had no idea it even happened, and I have a picture of it in my book, and you can very clearly see 4 slice marks. The X marks that happened when I moved here, it was September 2017, and it was my second night here. And I woke up, and I was unpacking dishes in the kitchen, and it felt like a bug bit my butt, and it hurt. So I yelled over to my boyfriend, Patrick, will you check my butt? I think a bug bit it. He's like, yeah. So I go over to the living room, and I bend over, and I pull my pants down, and he's looking at it, and there's just silence. Like, he's not saying anything, and he's looking at it, and I'm starting to get really nervous because at this point I've already made contact with the grays and with other beings. So this wasn't... Mm-hmm. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, my God, here we go again. But they had never left X marks on me before that I know of. So I'm like, well, did a bug bite me? And he says, yeah, and there's a red X. I'm like, what? I took the picture with my phone, and it is this X mark that's about an inch or maybe a little bit more, and it's 9 tiny circular, they look like burn marks, making a perfect X. And I have a picture of it on my website and in my book and on my YouTube channel. And I saw that X, and I was just frozen. And I knew it was the Grays. I just knew it.
Wow.
And my boyfriend is super logical, but even this stumped him. So for the next couple of days, I was just searching for the house. I would find a chair and I would sit in it to see if it would leave a mark on my butt. I went into the car and I sat on the seat, and I'm like, is this going to leave the lawn furniture, everything, trying to figure out what would burn an X into my hiney. I couldn't find anything, so I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to forget about this. So my whole entire life, whenever anything weird like this happened to me, I'm just like, forget about it. Just forget about it.
Right.
Well, 1 week later, my eyes popped open, instantly awake. There's no grogginess. You just go from awake to asleep in a fraction of a second. And these memories started coming forward. And I remember that I was in a hospital bed, and I was in this room, and there was hardly any furniture in it. And I couldn't move my arms, and I couldn't move my legs, but I could move my head and my neck. And I sensed that there was something standing behind me. So I turned my head, and I came face to face, eyeball to eyeball with a gray. And we looked into each other's eyes, and I was terrified. And And it didn't say anything to me. In my other experiences with the Greys, there was telepathic communication, but there was nothing said. And it wasn't nice and it wasn't mean. It was just completely neutral. And I turned my head back around, and then next thing I know, my eyes are popping open in my bedroom. So I go downstairs, and I'm waiting for my boyfriend to get out of bed. And I'm just really worried because, I have to ask him again, to look at my butt. I'm like, oh, my God, there better not be another red X mark on my butt. And there was something else I remembered, and that was that I was on the moon. And in all my other experiences, I had never known I was on the moon. I just knew I was in this room, and it was on the moon. So my boyfriend comes downstairs. I allow him to have one sip of coffee, and then I'm like, Patrick, was I gone from the bedroom at all? No. I wasn't gone from the bed? No. Did you hear any weird noises? No. Anything weird? No. Now he's getting an idea of what's going on. So I told him what I remember, and then I said, check my butt. And there's another X on it, on the other cheek.
Oh, my God.
So the first X was on the left cheek, and the second X was on the right cheek, just like the first X, these small red dots that looked like they were burned into my body. Well, when I saw this, it was like all the blood just left my head. I started to cry. I was afraid. And he said, how can I help you? And I couldn't answer. I really don't know how he could help me. But I said, I need help because I can't deal with this alone. This is overwhelming for me. Now, this was back, even though it was just September 2017, that was back when I thought the Greys were bad. I thought they were evil, and I thought every time I came in contact with them, it was not for my benefit. But I have since then changed very much. Opposite. I believe that they were very helpful to me, and that every time I interacted with them, it was for my benefit. So I've been married a couple times, and they were abusive. So I had this trained pattern of belief into thinking that I was a victim. So once again, I view this entire experience as I was a victim and I was being victimized. And, those goddamn Greys, what the hell are they doing to me? Who the hell do they think they are?
Oh, wow.
I don't think like that at all anymore. And one day, shortly thereafter, one of my best friends, Elizabeth, who lives on Maui, suggested that, I have a few best friends on Maui. I love Maui.
Oh, how often
my
to be
heart
your best friend?
sits in Maui. I have been to Maui so many times that I've literally lost count. Yes.
Wow.
It is a very special
we'll
place
have
for
to
me.
meet
Yes.
sometime if you come back again, yes.
Oh, yes. I am coming back. I can't describe it. When I'm there, I feel like I'm home. And I've also had some extraordinary spiritual experiences there, too. So anyway, Elizabeth says to me, it's like another world. Elizabeth says to me, watch the show Unacknowledged by Dr. Stephen Greer. So one day when my boyfriend's out working on the boat, I watched it, and I was blown away, and it lit this fire in my belly. And I went over to my computer, and I said, okay, that's it. I have to send a picture of my ex to somebody. I need help. Who am I going to send it to? I had no idea. So I heard in my head, MoveOn, and I didn't know anything about MoveOn. So I went on their website, and I saw Kathleen Martin. And I'm like, she's the one. She's going to help me. So I emailed her, and I sent her a picture of the ex. And about 2 or 3 days later, she wrote back, and she said, I'd love to talk to you. And this meant so much to me. She's a very busy woman. And we Skyped for an hour and a half, and wow, what she did for me, I have no words for. I love Kathleen Martin. She was an angel to me. She's one of the sweetest people, and she's really genuinely here to help. And
I know
asked her
Kathleen.
at one
I've
point,
met her.
Yeah, yes. So
And
sweet.
so you asked her, right?
What am I supposed to do with these experiences? Because they've also given me a lot of information, the Greys have, and other beings too. And I said, I see myself in my mind's eye on a stage talking. And she said, Sal, I can't tell you what you're supposed to do. You know, that's your journey. You have to find that out. I said, okay. Well, right now I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything at all. I'm just going to sit on it. Well, then a couple months later, I woke up and I declared that I'm writing a book. It happened like that. And I wrote the book. I wrote it in 2 months. I took another month to edit it, and it came out. And then a couple of weeks later, I was contacted by AlienCon to be a guest speaker in Baltimore. That was in 2018. And that was a great experience. I met so many people who told me about their ET contact. That was eye-opening for me. Very eye-opening. How many people have had ET contact and don't feel comfortable telling anybody? So one of my missions is to help experiencers. So on my website, planetsev.com, I have a page called ET Encounters, where you can write me your story, and I honor your privacy. And I will respond to you. And we'll go back and forth as much as you need. And my goal is to help you understand it, or help you process it, help you make peace with it. And there are a few stories, bits of a few stories that I share anonymously on another page on my website called True ET Stories, because I really believe that if you read other people's experiences, it can help you a lot process yours, for you to know you're not the only one and someone might have had a very similar experience to yours. And it can also jog your memory, because a lot of times these experiences just sit there in the back of your mind. You don't want to touch them. It's important to touch them. ET contact is a beautiful thing, and it can change your life for the better. And the best thing I've ever done is to come out.
Yay! I'm so proud of you. That's wonderful. And I love it. I love it because, you know, people are starting to come out now. This is a phenomenon. It's been going on for years, and a lot of people just take it to their graves with them. But the more we come out, the more we share our stories and write our books, and the more people can come forth, and we'll get to the bottom of this. So that's delightful. Now, and I presented at AlienCon, but it was one in the West Coast one time. Haven't been back in a couple of years, but I loved the experience. They're wonderful people. I don't know if it's the same people doing the conferences everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same
let's go
people.
into this.
Yeah, it was great. Excuse me?
It was great. Yeah, so it's the same people. They were very nice to me, and I enjoyed it. And the one I was at had 6,000 people. So how many did you guesstimate were at the one you were at?
I'm not sure. I think maybe it was about half of that. It was a few thousand, and for Baltimore, that's pretty good. I was shocked I was in Baltimore. I had just written the book, and I saw the commercial, and I'm like, wow, that's divine timing. That's very interesting, because I lived in Baltimore for 20 years, and I've had some ET contact in Baltimore. One thing I would like to say about ET contact, and I like to say this a lot, because contact doesn't happen only in 3D, like when you're driving in your car or walking through the woods or having an alien just walk through your wall. It happens when you're sleeping, because it's a multidimensional experience, and they're not dreams. So there's a lot of things that we do when we close our eyes. Sometimes we just have normal dreams, but sometimes we literally travel, and we go through time portals, and we go to other planets, and we communicate with other beings in these other dimensions. And it doesn't have to be just at night. It can be during the day too, but it happens a lot at night because we're really relaxed, and our frequency is different. And so many people have these amazing, they call them dreams, and they're like, Sev, it was so real, like I can't believe it. And I would like to tell people that they're not dreams. that you really do travel at night. And my proof was that I woke up with 2 red X's on my butt. And a dream does not put 2 red X's on your butt. And for me, that was my sign. It's like I have to come out and I have to talk to let people know that what you're calling a dream was a real experience. Of course, there are just dreams, but there are also genuine experiences where you're having profound experiences, and you wake up and you have marks on your body, or you have scoops, or you have slices and things like that. Sometimes you don't have any marks. You don't have to have marks.
So I have this phenomenon all the time. It's like almost every night I wake up and I've been to other planets, and I even have another job, different jobs I do.
Oh, really?
I'm in a project where I'm relocating homeless people. I was on this one plant, and they had all this space and all these abandoned buildings from, their population died off or left planet or something. And I said, we have all these homeless people on Earth. Why don't we let them have these beautiful homes and, the incredible rivers, just like our planet is certain places where it's pristine and nothing was polluted. It was just all pristine. And so I went back in the next I don't know, a couple days. Time's different, so I don't know how much time had passed there. But I went back, and there were all these people there, and they were predominantly like Indian cultures, but it was mixed. There was all the races there, but they had their cows, and they were like dancing in the streets, and they had different music than what I'm familiar with over here in the United States, and they brighter costumes, and they were dancing in the streets, and they were and they had fixed up these. So these buildings were too big for humans, right? So they they had carpenters that they brought in, and they were making subdivisions, and like they would put a floor. The ceilings were for beings that were like 20 feet tall. So they, divided it up, and they were fitting, 1,000 people in a building, right? It was just phenomenal because it was just so big. So when they went back a third time, and they gave me a calf. And I said, thank you. I don't know how to take care of a calf. So I walk around with this calf, a sacred calf. So, but I'm very, very busy, and I know these cities. And I come back, and my husband believes me. It's so great to have someone that believes you, because the more you can be witnessed, then these stories come out about our multidimensional selves. I think what's happening is we simultaneously have simultaneous lives on other planets and other avatars, other bodies, and if you're open to it, then you'll start getting these experiences. And mine have been all positive, and I feel so bad when I get my labs people, these negative experiences, and they've been fighting, reptilians. So you had this experience at Alien Con. We're going to break this down. So it was a wonderful story you just shared. What was that like? Was that the first time you presented in public? What was that like for you?
That wasn't the first time
nervous?
I talked in public, but it's the first time I talked about my ET contact. It was my coming out.
Mhm.
And
what was that like for you?
Very exciting. I actually was not nervous. I was just really excited. And as the room was filling up with people, I was walking up and down the hallways and up and down the rows, and just thanking everyone for being there. And I had a wonderful time on stage. I felt very comfortable. Sometimes you see those old shows where someone's on stage and this giant hook comes and pulls them off the stage. I felt like this giant hook had to come and take me off the stage because I was so comfortable up there. And I was just so happy that I was finally just coming out with it. And I was really accepted and coming out in a town that I lived in 20 years, and my friends were there. It was a great experience. And then I was also in the vendor hall with my book, and I met hundreds of people, and they would say, I've never told anyone this, and then they would tell me their ET story. And it was very humbling, and it was just remarkable. I would love to speak at Alien Con again. Yeah. Or really,
I would too. So if you're listening, invite us back. We'd love to speak again. I had my husband was with me, and we've written 10 books, and I sold out by noon on the first day. I mean, I didn't have enough books.
Wow.
And there, do you have anything? So I even went back and got some of my personal copies. I said I'll just reorder it later. I mean, it was an amazing experience. I've never quite had that happen anywhere else because people are so hungry for this information.
Very. In fact, I am talking at the end of September at an event that I created. It's called The Universe Speaks, Talks to Empower You, on September 28 in Annapolis, Maryland. And if you can't attend in person, you can attend virtually. So I'm giving 3 talks, and Randy Botnick, who's an energy healer, is giving a talk about the energy grid and how to rebalance your energy grid. And I'm going to be talking about my ET contact and our quantum reality and manifestation and how to use really the laws of quantum physics to manifest, and what my ET experience has taught me about how to be authentic and how authenticity is a powerful way for manifestation and how it completely changed my life. And I'll be talking about parallel worlds and psychic abilities and how to strengthen your psychic abilities. And I'll also be talking about secret government paranormal programs. And I'll also have a Q&A session. So the people who are attending live from the comfort of their home virtually can also send me questions, and I'll answer them live in the Q&A session. So the people who are there, it's a day-long event from 10 to 6, and there's a catered lunch. And you'll get a free book. It's called The Universe Speaks, Talks to Empower You, and some other gifts. And I'm really excited about it. And if you want to get tickets or get some more information, just please go to my website, planetsev.com. There's a lot of information there for you.
I'm pulling it up now so I can look. So you had a lot of topics here. Let's break this down. So, first of all, what's your background that you have all this understanding about quantum physics?
Oh, okay. Well, I have a biology degree from Loyola. I was pre-med, and then I decided I had an internship at University of Maryland Hospital, and I decided not to go into medicine. So I thought I would go into acupuncture, and then an acupuncturist talked me out of that. And then I just became an entrepreneur at a very young age, 21, 22. I started my own jewelry company, designing jewelry, and I had sales reps all around the country, and I had kiosks, and then I had a store in the Harbor Place in Baltimore. And the whole time that I'm doing this, there's a part of me that just loves biology and science, and then there's a part of me that's having these ET experiences and heightened paranormal abilities. So I've always known I can hear, feel, and see information about people that one normally wouldn't know. And this is something that we all do. There's nothing special about me. But I just practiced a lot because I came to this country not knowing English, and I started first grade not knowing English. So what I was doing, I didn't realize it then. Now I realize what I was doing was in order to understand what was happening around me, I was just plugged into the other dimensions, and I was picking up information about people that wasn't 3D, so I could get an idea of what someone was saying and how they was feeling and what was going on in the room. So I've always been plugged in. And when I was in my 40s, I decided that I'm going to do that for a career, and I became a spiritual counselor, and I conduct soul sessions where I hear, feel, and see information about people, and what comes out is their purpose and how they can achieve it, what some mental blocks are that are preventing them from success, what some past lives are, and we discuss their energy, the energy around them, the energy that they're exuding, because the energy that you're exuding is creating your reality. So I talk about the law of alignment because I don't believe you have to attract anything, as the law of attraction says, because quantum physics says the energy of everything is everywhere. So the energy of what you want is literally right in front of you, if not inside of you. So all you have to do is tweak your energy to align with the energy of what you want, and it manifests in your reality. So I help clients all around the world. I help them create the life that they want, create a life according to their own standards, to have better relationships, and to fall in love with themselves and to honor themselves, and help them along on this path of authenticity, which isn't easy in the beginning, to be authentic and to honor yourself and to honor what your heart wants. But once you make the effort and you start to see the results of how beautifully that changes your life, you're like hooked. You can't get off the path.
So to what degree do you see that people need to deprogram their cultural conditioning and religious programming and trauma and drama? Because everybody has something. They come in there, and I have a pretty magical life, but then there were things in my life too. It's not been, a smooth path the whole time. So I work with people too, like you do. And I was just wondering, in your practice, my husband, I come from a Jungian psychology background of voice dialogue facilitation and holotropic breath work, and my husband's a PhD in anthropology, and he's been teaching psychology. He's older, he's 79, so since the 60s. So I've been exposed to this healing modalities, and we do psychotherapy and hypnosis and all that stuff. So, and a lot of people are wrapped up in the wound, and they're like the walking wounded inner child. So when you approach that with somebody, what do you do to help them unravel from the PTSD they're having or the trauma and come into a more positive? Does that take one session? Does that take 10? How do you work with people? I get a lot of highly traumatized people, and and I'm just gentle with them, and I work slowly. But I just wondered what your approach is. Back to you.
Well, I pretty much think almost all of us are traumatized. One of the biggest issues, whether you're male or female, is victimization. And so I played the role of the victim for a long time, and I played it really well. And it's a big issue, not accepting your role in what's happening to you and blaming others for where you are and what's happening to you. So that's one of the biggest things, is that I help my clients realize that, you have to point your finger at yourself and to turn your eyeballs inward and to look at yourself and to take complete responsibility for where you are and what's happening to you, while showing yourself love and compassion and gratitude at the same time. And for some people, it's just one session. Some people have many sessions. I don't tell anyone that they have to have more than one session. If they want to, they can. I used to do coaching where people would come to me every week or every other week, but I don't do that anymore. I just rely on people to tell me when they want to come. And I have clients that have been with me for 10 years, and they come often. I have some clients that just come to me a couple times a year. And so I empower my clients, let them know that there's a lot of work to be done, and you can do it. You can really do it on your own. I'm here to help you. I'll hold your hand. And it's this deconditioning. It's a deconditioning that can take some time, because we have these really, really deeply ingrained thought patterns about how we're less than and we're not good enough, and that person can have a good life, but I can't have it because my parents didn't send me to college or whatever. There's a million reasons. And so we just kind of work all that down for my clients to see that they're very, very powerful in and of themselves. And it's the thought patterns that are keeping them back. It's the thought patterns that they're not enough, and there's a lot of fear. And we can't completely eliminate fear, but I can help you move through it. You can always move through fear. I've been afraid many times, but I moved through it, and spectacular things have happened because of it. And so you can be afraid and still be extremely successful. It's just your ability to move through it The most successful people in the world get afraid sometimes. So that's not any reason not to do something or not to excel.
Right. Now, anyway, what? Where do you want to go next with your information? I don't want to keep leading you too much, but I was just, I'm encountering a lot of people that are like the super soldiers, and it appears that there's been this phenomenon where of the negative abductions, and I predominantly have people that have had either neutral and more like in an experiencer realm, right? And they may have had trauma initially, but as they reflected and unpacked the episode, and maybe they did some regression on it, and they, we have that natural tendency to fight or flight. Like you said, you turned around and you felt this fear, absolute fear, from looking eye to eye with the gray. But over time, I've learned to relax, and Whitley Strieber talks about that, learning how to relax in the presence of extraterrestrials. So I recently, about a year ago, I woke up and it was sunrise, but there was enough light in the room and I could see all the corners, and I turned over and there was an owl, a 6-foot owl, 5-foot owl.
Wow.
And I just laughed and I went, oh, really? And then it morphed into a gray sense of humor, right? And then we had this wonderful telepathic conversation. Now, my husband was awake in the office around the corner, and I'm thinking, oh, this would be so great if he would just come around the corner. But somehow they keep them at bay, right? So he didn't have any impulse. He didn't have to go to the bathroom, nothing, to come around and see this gray. And so we were talking for a while, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get on with my day. Thank you for visiting with me. And then he left. So, but then, I've had episodes, like you said, where you're just, especially when I was younger, I encountered a reptilian, and I couldn't even see his face for years until I went into regression, and I said, oh, no, actually I didn't. I went into a spontaneous recall. All I knew is he had a hood. He was wearing like a long light brown type, looks like a monk's robe, right? And he was much taller than a human. And then finally I was looking in the early 2000s. I looked at the David Icke book on the one with the reptilian on the cover. Forget what he called it. Anyway, I'm looking through the book, and there was a pencil drawing of this reptilian. And as soon as I looked at the reptilian's face in the pencil drawing, then he came out 3D fresh in my mind's eye, and I saw him completely, and I saw his eye. So the eyes will draw you in with these extraterrestrials, and then there's that disbelief, and your mind doesn't know how to fill in the blanks and explain this reality, because in a normal human life, reptilians don't exist. They don't walk around and talk to you telepathically. So I've learned to relax, and I'm wanting to put together a therapeutic group. Like you just created this event, but my intention is to create a retreat. It could be 4 days long, maybe eventually a week long, where people can come and immerse themselves in the process. And we might take turns hypnotizing each other. I want a lot of people that are therapeutically sophisticated enough to deal, because sometimes you get people screaming and, they've got real things that they're recalling. And the therapist can't freak out and want to fix and repair them. They're not broken, right? Just let them move through the fear. Be there for them and help them. So anyway, you're like if we can pull this off, I want to do my husband, and I know you and some other therapists, and I think it'd be great. We could all kind of do this together and then share our techniques. We can learn from each other how to work with that, because there's no school on this. I mean, there's other trauma.
And it's needed. And I have learned, I'm so glad I finally wrote this book, because I have learned that there are millions of people who are having ET contact. And some of them don't even know it, because it's happening in what they think is a dream. So they're like, that was just a dream. But then they can't forget it. Like, it's a dream that you cannot forget. That's a sign that it's not a dream. If you can remember something that you dreamed when you're like 7 years old, that's not a dream, because a normal dream you can't remember.
Not a dream.
And so there is a need, because people do want to understand and they do want to process. And so going back to being afraid, like I was afraid of this gray, but it was totally neutral. So we're not used to completely neutral beings. That's kind of freaky to us. So that's why we get afraid. It's like, it's not nice, it's not mean, it's neutral. Okay, what does neutral mean? Oh, neutral means that it can bite my head off. No, neutral just means neutral. And so I agree with you. If you could just try and calm down and see it as this remarkable, absolutely spectacular experience that you're having for a good reason, because your higher self wants this. It's not just your higher self, but the higher self of the ET too. We all have our higher selves, and we want this. And when I realize that I am not the victim of these grays, and my higher self wants this. There is a reason that I want to have this experience. There's a reason they put that 2 X's on my butt. It's for me to come out and talk and to help other people and to meet people like you and others and get the ball rolling on finally accepting the fact that we're not alone and that millions of us are having contact. I've never had a horrible experience with, I saw a reptilian once, but it wasn't a horrible experience. I really can't speak about horrible experiences. I only want to speak about what I've experienced. And I've never had, other than viewing it through my lens of victimization and fear, other than that, I haven't had a bad experience.
Well, let me tell you about my
memories. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Then I want to tell you about, because you mentioned the reptilian, and so we'll go back for it. So when I was a child, I would come home from playing. This is the 50s. It was very safe. So I was playing with my cousins 4 houses down, and I was supposed to come home on the front side of the street end of the property, but I went down the alley because I was so brave. And so I'd go down the alley, and I'd look at my neighbor's backyard, my best friend's backyard, and this being would come through like a Stargate portal. The whole atmosphere was like water. It was like water. We could go right through, and next thing I know, I called it doing battle, and it was trying to suck my soul out of my third eye and crown chakra, and I was terrified, and I'd be shaking. And then the being said something, I know who you are. Like he would get my soul signals to know who he was. And at that point, I would break free, and I'd run into the house, and I'd just close the door and throw myself on the floor and try to get my composure. And there was some wisdom about us where we would say, or you did, and I did too, I'm not going to tell my parents, right? I'm not going to tell my brother and sister because they'll never believe me. But that kept going over and over all through the years, until finally I did some work on it, and I actually was writing up the story, and then he came to me telepathically, and he said, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you, because the reptilian form of communication is much more intense than the gray. When the grays communicate, they always keep a part of themselves separate. You don't know them. But the reptilians, their telepathy is so full on. It's like you know each other completely. And we're not used to being that raw, where somebody knows everything about us and we know everything about them. And he said a lot of humans can't take it, and some humans have died when they experience that level of telepathy. That's why the government protects some of their guards and employees from the reptilians, because you have to have a certain ability, I guess, to be able to interact with them without literally dying, leaving your body for good, having a heart attack. So, and I forget why I went down this thread. You said something, but I've worked on it, and now I realize, it was fear, total just terror. But in working with it with my husband, who's a therapist, and doing some shows, and coming out, the coming out process is therapeutic in of itself. And then writing up the story, and then when I'm writing, I'm very psychic now since I've been doing this for 65 years, that I will receive, I don't want to call it channeling, but I get contact when I'm writing up an episode. So when I am writing, it's like I really want, the phone off and nobody bother me, because I'm actually connecting with extraterrestrials in that moment. So,
yes.
So I don't know where I started. Go back to you. Back to you. What do you think about that?
Well,
and I'm weird like this, yes.
You said something that I hadn't heard before, and what you said was that when a reptilian makes contact with you, it's so intense, unlike contact with a gray, and that some people can't handle it. So, do you think that's why they get afraid and why reptilians have a bad rap? Do you think all reptilians are bad, all reptilians are good, some are bad? What do you think?
No, I think there's a variety of reptilian species, and I'm not sure even which reptilians I encountered. I have seen pictures of them on the internet, and I've talked to Misha Johnson extensively about reptilians, and she's actually mated with the reptilian and had children. And it's interesting when they make children. Sometimes it's harvesting DNA and creating them in a tube, but sometimes they actually have us copulate with them, or we copulate with them because I don't know. I don't want to go victim. I think there's some kind of soul agreement in all this stuff when we diversify our DNA and make. I hope it's making love, but sex is fine too. I guess people have sex for sexual reasons, but children result. So I don't think all aliens, all reptilians are bad. I think that they are as complex as human beings. If you were to meet, the only human being you were to meet was Hitler or something, would you say all humans are bad? I don't know. You might get him on a good day, and even he's sweet. He's loving his dog and his wife, right? So we're very complex beings individually and collectively. And when you lump people, that's where you get in trouble. And anybody is salvageable. I think that it's kind of like the law of attraction. When you're kind and loving, and you can learn to witness people and accept them unconditionally, you'll pull more of that out of them.
Yes, and that goes with ETs too. Yeah, not just people, but ETs. And what we label as bad might just be our misunderstanding, or just feeling a frequency that makes us feel uncomfortable, maybe because we're not completely aligned with it, or a lower frequency, and then we label that as evil when it really is not evil. It's just maybe a lower frequency or a different frequency.
Right, and so if you can learn to adjust to the frequencies, I want to ask you, when you return from being in a different frequency, like another planet, when I return, it feels for a while like I'm bilocating, and I'll keep my eyes closed so I can stay connected to the experience, and I can go and tell my husband. He knows when I'm coming in with my eyes half closed, and I go, shh, don't say anything, shh. Because if I start giving input, then it dissipates, right? So you want to be in the energy. So I sit down and I start explaining to him what's going on. And I think when you're on other planets, they have different vibes. Literally, it's a different vibratory frequency. And so when I come back, I go, I'm in the vibe of wherever I was, that ship, that planet. I'm vibrating at a different frequency. And so I don't know if I was taken physically. I've never seen anybody. I've never had an episode where my husband comes in and I'm missing, right?
Right.
But they can return you right to when you left.
That's why I was so confused with the X's, and that's with the two X's on my butt, because in my mind, I'm like, how does that happen if I didn't leave the bed? Like, what is going on? Is this some kind of time travel? A portal, you go into another dimension and you pop back in and it doesn't even look like you're gone. There's so many different, I don't even know, there's so many different ways that this happens. Yeah. And sometimes your body doesn't leave at all. It's just your consciousness. Your consciousness is somewhere else. Your body doesn't even have to be there. Your consciousness is somewhere else. Now, talking about hybrids, when I had an
Yes.
experience in Roswell, New Mexico, and that was in 2016, where I had an interesting experience where they gave me a bunch of information about the hybridization program. And in Baltimore, maybe 2012 or so, I had an experience where I was in a dark room and I saw this tube, and in the tube was a baby floating in this liquid. And its eyes were open, and they were the bluest eyes I've ever seen. And even though I couldn't tell the sex of the baby, I knew it was a male. And I'm looking at this tube, and it's about as tall as I am and it's about as wide as I am. And I'm looking at it, and the room's really dark. And I'm like, why am I looking at this baby in a tube? What is this? And then I feel something behind me, so I turn around, and behind me are 3 grays, tall, medium, and short. And they telepathically tell me, take your time, we're giving you your space. I'm like, all right. And I turn back around and look, what is this? Who is this? And then I bounce back out. So for years, I could not forget that. Still, I could see it clearly. I could feel it in my body. It was a real experience. Then Roswell, went to Roswell. I've been wanting to go to Roswell since I was a little girl because of the spaceship crash. And so one day my boyfriend calls, and for his work, he had to live on Kauai, the island of Kauai, for a year.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
So I would travel back and forth. I was living on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., so I just traveled back and forth, spend a month or two on Kauai and visit Hawaii, visit Maui and Oahu, and then fly back to D.C. and then fly back to Hawaii. And so I was in D.C., and he calls me and he says, I have to go to White Sands for work. So why don't you fly out to El Paso? I'll pick you up, I'll take you to White Sands, and then I'll take you to Roswell, and we'll spend the night there. I was like, wow, this is great. And now leading up to that, there was a few things that happened right in a row that were all like alien-related, leading right up to that phone call. For him to go to Roswell, I had no idea that he was going to call me and say that. It was out of the blue. So we go to White Sands, and we go sliding down those white gypsum hills. Have you been there?
Never made it yet, but maybe someday I will. But go ahead. I've seen pictures. Yeah.
And then they have the government missile range there, White Sands missile range.
Right.
And so my boyfriend wanted to take me there. I did not want to go. I'm just not really interested in that kind of stuff. But it's part of his work because he was a civilian working for the Navy, and he was managing radar test programs, defense radar test programs. So he's like, let me take you. I want you to see it. I'm like, okay. So driving into it, it was just, it was horrible. It's like all the hairs on my body were standing up. It's at the bottom or at the base of this black mountain. The energy is horrible. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. So we just walk around, and we're looking at the missiles, and they have this park, this outside park, and they have all these pointy missiles, and then in the middle of these pointy missiles, they have this round thing that looks just like a UFO. And they have this plaque next to it saying, this releases balloons or whatever bull crap. It was released by Roswell, not in 1947, but in the 60s or something. I can't remember the year. I'm like, this is very suspicious. So then we go inside to the museum. I can't wait to get out because I'm feeling completely creeped out. Finally, he's ready to go, and as we're leaving, I'm like, don't ever bring me back here again. I never want to come back here again. So then we drive to Roswell. We go to the museum. We have a really good time, and we get to the hotel room in Roswell, and we're both really tired. So he's in the bathroom. I'm sitting on the bed, and I'm flicking through the channels. And I'm thinking to myself, I wish the show People of Earth would come on. Did you watch that show?
Oh, yeah, I love that show. My husband loved it even more.
I'm really sad that it was discontinued.
I know.
I know. I wish it would come back. So, produced by Conan O'Brien. Well, if he's not an alien, I don't know who is a walking alien. He looks just like an alien.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so I'm flicking around. I'm like, I wish that show would come on, but I think the last episode just aired and it's not on. And my boyfriend comes out of the bathroom, and I stop the channel on a commercial. So he says something to me, and then the next thing I know, on television is the show People of Earth.
Oh,
and
my God.
I'm like, whoa. And I get kind of creeped out, and I go, oh, my boyfriend had never seen it before. I'm like, Patrick, this is the weirdest thing just happened. I wanted to watch the show, and it's on, so let's watch it. So we watched a couple episodes, and he liked it, and we fell asleep. Next thing I know, my eyes popped open. So whenever I have experiences, I'm never in a groggy state. It's like asleep, wide awake, like in a fraction of a second. My eyes popped open. The room is pitch black. I can't see anything, but I hear footsteps on the carpet. And then I feel my boyfriend getting into the bed, and I think to myself, why was Patrick sitting on the couch? Was it because of the aliens? And I fell asleep. So I wake up in the morning, and he's taking a shower, and as I'm sitting in the bed, I'm like, why did I think he was sitting on the couch? Because the room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. Why was he walking around? Why do I think he was sitting on the couch? Why was he sitting on the couch? He never gets up in the middle of the night, sits on the couch. And why did I think it was the aliens? And then all of a sudden, it was just like this gush of memory. And I'm with a bunch of grays. We're kind of like having a conference, and they're talking to me, and they're telling me about the hybridization program and why they're doing it and what they're looking for, and they want empathy. They want sympathy.
Yeah.
And because they're killing themselves off because they don't have the. Excuse me?
Oh. So the Greys are killing themselves off?
Well, they were killing themselves off because there's no empathy or sympathy there. And then, how can a species survive if you don't give a rat's ass about each other, So they're looking for the empathy, empathetic, sympathetic part of humans. They're also looking for humans that have the ability to love very much and the ability to express and also tend to have maybe some psychic abilities that maybe are a little bit more advanced than the others, even though we all have psychic abilities. And all this information is coming super quick. And then they remind me of the baby in the tube and that I'm part of this process. And then my boyfriend comes out of the shower, and I'm like, Patrick, did you get up in the middle of the night? And he goes, yeah. I go, did you sit on the couch? He goes, yeah. I go, why? He goes, well, now my boyfriend is super, super logical. He goes, and I'm watching him struggle. And he's like, wow, this has never happened to me before. I don't even know how to explain it, but there was something in this room, and it was watching us. And I got up, and I looked for it, and I didn't see it. And I get up, and I looked for it, and it was so bad that I finally just got out of bed, and I sat on the couch. And you were tossing and turning and tossing and turning. And then interestingly enough, the moment my eyes popped open was the moment that he was getting back into the bed. So he was kind of wigged out by that, too. And the rest of the time that we were in Roswell, we kept looking up into the skies thinking we were going to see something, but really I had seen them, and they had communicated with me very, very clearly. And they had also talked about a book. Now, also back then, I thought that they were no good, and I thought they wanted me to make like a pact with the devil, and they were telling me, no, don't write that book, write this book. I'm like, I don't want to write your book. And it kind of messed me up. I went back to D.C., and I was worried, and I was scared, and I didn't want my clients to know. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want to write a book that they want me to write. And then, like I told you, I completely think completely different. And I wrote this book. This was the book that we were talking about that I didn't realize we were talking about. They were talking about, write this book, because at that time I was writing another book. They were like, if you write this book, it'll be better received. And I'm like, oh. But as I was writing this book, I didn't realize, really, that that's the conversation that they were having with me until after I'd finished writing it. I'm like, oh, that's what we were talking about. So that was such a profound experience for me, and I couldn't remember all of it. I could only remember part of it. So I told my friend, I need help processing it because I know that Grace told me some stuff that I don't remember, and I want to know all of it. So she suggested a hypnotherapist in Luray, Virginia. Her name is Diane Kensler. And I went to her, and I had a fantastic experience, and I share the entire regression in my book. It's almost word for word. And that was very helpful, and a lot of information came out. So I do suggest to experiencers, if you're willing to go under regression, it could really be a wonderful experience. And Janet, you said that you do that? You do that work?
I do that work. My husband does it as well. Of course, our time is limited, but we can, fit people in. We can do phone, we can do Zoom, and I'm building a directory. I'm working on. I do a little bit of website stuff. Maybe people out there know. I'm looking for a system where I can put up a directory, so we can put all the people that want to speak at conferences, all the conferences that want to have speakers, all the different therapists that work with experiencers. I think
That's
some are more
like a resource
some
guide,
might work
like a
better
book.
with secrets. Yes, but I'm working on creating the website to do this, and I've been going through all the different packages and experimenting. So hopefully I'll have that up in the next month. But if anybody out there listening knows the different apps or plugins or even the themes, or because I'd like to do this service for humanity, because I'm so motivated by it all. It's just my life. I live this 24/7. I talk to people. Part of what my service is I'm documenting all these stories. And if you're out there and you're listening and you have your story and you're ready to tell your tale, you can come on the show. You don't have to do 2 hours like Seb, but, an hour, half an hour, whatever. I'm just getting the stories. I think some people aren't ready to go, audio visual, so we can just do the verbal. So, and tell me the story.
Also,
it's very healing.
Very. And so the help that I offer, that maybe someone's not ready to go on a show yet, but I can help you get to the point where you can feel comfortable to come out. A few people who share their stories with me, I'm now connecting them with people who have radio shows and YouTube channels, and they're starting to come out, and which is very rewarding. I love that. I think it's wonderful because we need to come out. We need to speak up, and we need to help each other.
Yeah, the support system. And then I don't know if people are creating local support groups. They don't seem to be as prevalent as other types of support groups, but maybe a directory of support groups and people willing to do that level of work with people. So anyway, I think we're just beginning this, and I find that people like you that are brave enough, I mean, you're very brave. You went from keeping it a secret to writing the book to going up in front of, hundreds, if not thousands of people. And that's very, very brave. And I'm encouraging people, but don't come out too soon. If you're not ready, your inner critic will come back and say, you weren't ready to your center. They'll say, you weren't ready, and beat you up a little bit. So we're going to work with people. So Sev and I are eventually going to create this experiencer workshop, seminar, conference.
That's like a dream come true. That would be amazing. Oh, thank you, Janet. Wow.
I have no idea how it's going to happen, but I've had this conversation with 2 or 3 or 4 people, and that was the conclusion. It's like, we're supposed to do this. Now, I don't know when or how, but I'm looking for the right location where it's not too hot, not too cold, not too rainy. And and so people
so it
can be
wouldn't be
comfortable.
Maui, or maybe you might have one in Maui, but maybe more one on the mainland.
I'm thinking of the mainland because Maui's so expensive. You know, I don't know. You're putting on an event. See, you've approached the venue. They charge a lot of money. If you're going to have a venue, especially in a hotel, where everybody's going to have because we're going to do an immersion process. We're going to be there for days, right? We're going to need to have food that people can eat, take breaks, food, and, start early, might even stay late. Some people, if they're triggered, they might need some one-on-one work. So I have this whole vision. I've done these things with my husband for years. For 20 years we've done it in different, but not dealing with experiencers. We've done just regular workshops with, psychotherapy. Mainly our main clientele was relationships. We were working with bonding patterns, and we did relationships for years. But, people that are experiencers, they often have difficulty having successful relationships because when you're being taken at night and your boyfriend is encountering aliens and he's not used to it, they sometimes leave. Yeah, I've lost relationships.
Yeah, that was my fear. I was afraid that my boyfriend was going to leave me. I was afraid that some of my friends would leave me, and none of that happened, thankfully.
Oh, well, you're lucky.
My boyfriend, as logical as he is, he knows that what's happening, like, he can't explain these two red X's. So, that's where, and so he can't come out and 100% say, yes, you're having contact with aliens. He can't say that, but he can't not say it either. And so,
right.
Yeah, right. And so it's kind of nice that he represents, like, the logical side of things. It's good for me to have kind of like that logical reinforcement. But what's happening here is illogical. We can't explain what is happening. ET contact most times can't be explained logically. So if we're waiting for this to make logical sense, some people are going to be waiting for a long time. We can't try and explain this by the laws of physics and science that we already know. This goes way beyond what we know.
Right on. Yeah, that's. Oh, people keep calling me when I'm on the radio show. It's Murphy's Law, right? No. And I tell everybody, I broadcast 2 to 4. Don't call me. Of course, everybody calls me. Oh, I forgot. So, yeah, I mean, I had a boyfriend one time. We woke up on our backs at the same time, the eyes popping open. And I see something on the pillow, and he does too. And then we see something on the sheet. So we push the sheet down, and it's blood. And we literally at one point together threw the sheets off, and there was blood from the pillow cases on both sides all the way down. I thought there was going to be like a horse's head, like The Godfather. So we started looking at each other. Are you all right? Are you all right? There wasn't a mark on either one of us. Not a mark. And I had warned him. I said, you sure you want to be in a relationship with me because weird things happen with people, with me at night. And he said, oh, yeah, I love you. Yes, yes, yes. So he was like your boyfriend, a trooper. He stands up, he goes, okay, and he starts stripping the bed, and he gets out the spray and wash. He says, we're going to just wash these sheets, and we're never going to talk about this again. So that was hilarious. But I think when there's too many of those things happen on some subconscious level, they say, I think it's time to end the relationship because it just gets too weird. And so, we weren't really meant for each other for forever anyway. It was like one of those transition relationships. But I've had people sleep with me, and when I was dating, I was married and then dating and then got married again. That in between when I was shopping, right, for a new relationship, it was kind of freaky. But when I met Dr. Lessin, who had worked with experiencers and in psychology, and he was so sophisticated, I went, okay, I've hit the jackpot. He's going to understand this. And not only does he understand it, but he's totally intrigued.
That's
I got lucky.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's just great. And so my boyfriend is extremely supportive of me, even though he doesn't understand it and it's not logical. He can't deny it. And so he just kind of sits like in that place of, I support you, really weird things happen to you, I see them happening to you, something weird is going on, and I just don't know what it is, and that's all I can say. I'm like, okay, that's good enough. Yeah.
So does he come with you when you do these conferences?
Yes, he was there. He had a good time. He loved it. And I mention him. I write him in the book, and in almost every interview I do, I talk about him because he's my support system. You know, he's the one that was with me day in and night. He's the one that saw me crying. He's the one that saw me scared. He's the one that saw me frustrated. He saw all of it.
Aw.
Yeah, and it's important to have someone like that in your life that you can feel free around. And if you don't have someone like that in your family, like you said, there are a lot of support systems now online and meetup groups. And so it's so much easier now than it was, you know, a decade ago or a couple of decades ago. It's really easy now to find fellow experiencers. So I suggest people do that.
I suggest you get a support system. My husband says in psychology, a healthy person has 5 friends in like an intimate circle that they can talk to, because the other one might be busy. So you have 5 friends that you can call. Now I don't have 5. I have in this field I have friends, but they're not always available. Yeah, but so it's good to have your network of people they can call and say something happened last night. I'm not sure.
5 is the magic number?
For some reason, and I'll have to ask him why. It's something that, you know, he's been studying psychology, you know, since the 60s, right? So he really understands it. But a healthy individual has a support system of 5 friends that they can call on a regular basis. So you might not get Carol one day, but you can get her in a couple days. But then you have somebody else and somebody else. And I think it's really important because sometimes there are just times when, you know, it's 3 a.m. Who do you call, right? Is there somebody, do you have friends you could call at 3 a.m.? And I had a very tragic thing happen, and I was at the hospital with my husband, and it was 3 a.m. And I called all kinds of people, and nobody would come to the hospital. And then finally I got one person, and she dropped everything. She said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. So that's what everybody needs, because it was a scary thing. My husband had to go into surgery, and I didn't know if he was going to come out, right? And it's like, you know, this is it. You know, my sister's all the way in Pennsylvania. So it's really important to have a support system. Who can you call at 3 a.m.? Who will pick up that phone at 3 a.m., right?
Right. Yeah, and I've learned as I've gotten older that you have a variety of friends that meet different needs. So you might have one that'll be there at 3 a.m., but maybe she's not as, she doesn't believe in ETs or isn't really into spirituality, but, you know, she's a great friend. And then you might have that other friend who's, you know, studying Hinduism, but she won't be there for you at 3 a.m. And so I've learned that, you know, as long as they all really love you, and they, you know, they're really good to you, I've learned that you just kind of like, you learn what all these different people really have to offer you, because you can't find everything in just one person. And so I have a really good group of good girlfriends. Yeah, and they're all a little different, and from each one I get something different.
Yeah. And that's what's so delightful. So finding people in the UFO field, they don't have to be in your neighborhood. You can find them online. You can find them in these support groups. And I know some of the bigger cities. Now, do you have a meetup group in your town? Have you created one?
I live in a town that actually has no name and only has 500 people. I live on the inner banks of North Carolina. It's absolutely gorgeous. I live right on the water, and I'm out in the country.
Oh, I saw your pictures.
The weird thing is, Janet, I moved here. I like to call it in the middle of nowhere, And just a couple houses down is a gentleman who has had ET contact, who's very knowledgeable about ETs. He's my neighbor. And that kind of surprised me. I was like, I came all the way over here, dropped in the middle of nowhere, had 2 red X's put on my ass. My neighbor knows all about ETs. My other neighbor has seen ETs too, has personal experience. I'm like, I am someplace very interesting. And I've since then discovered that I am in a vortex. There's a vortex here. Have you heard of Asheville, North Carolina?
Asheville, yes, That's a.
I'm
it's kind of like
I'm
Maui
like on the
East.
same vortex. Really? That's what
vortex.
they call it?
Well, there's like these little hippie towns. So Asheville is
Asheville is great, and the energy there is amazing. Yeah. And I'm on the same vortex as Asheville.
Oh,
I'm in the same energy. But I'm right on the water. They're in the mountains. Yeah, so it's pretty intense.
How is it? So how far away are you from Asheville?
I'm
in terms of
6
miles?
hours towards 6 hours towards the water.
Towards the water, but you're on the same ley line or something?
Yeah, it's the same energy.
Yeah. Same energy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I loved Asheville. I spent like a long weekend there. One of my good girlfriends was thinking of moving there. It's really a wonderful place. I did not know it was called Maui East. Does that make sense?
No, it's not. I just labeled it. I don't think it's really called that, but I've heard for many years I was a tantra teacher with my husband. We had a tantra school, and we were dealing with chakras and yoga and meditation, and we had a strong focus on relationships. So we taught using the chakra systems and everything on and helping our couples, work out their issues. And so they were telling me about in Asheville there was a tantric ashram and I don't know. There's a lot of stories about Asheville. Somebody built this whole facility, and then it never happened. So they went there, and everything was built for a big healing retreat center. But I think they have some healing retreat centers there. See, that might be a place to do it. Someplace like Asheville where you can go into nature.
Oh yes, that would be
maybe
a great place.
Maybe that's why we're talking about Asheville. Yeah. See, I used to do Harbin Hot Springs. And then Harbin burned down with the California fires. That was in Northern California, and that got wiped out. And they're rebuilding it, but it's very expensive now because they just had to spend millions to rebuild. And so you used to be able to camp there and, stay cheap, right? You could stay there for $30 a night or $40 a night, but now it's like $170. It's like, well, we're trying to do this so you don't have to be a millionaire to get your ET therapy, right?
Yeah.
We want to have it for average people. Yeah. So anyway, well, that's an idea. So you'll find yourself in Asheville looking at retreat centers. You'll go, oh, I wonder why I'm here. I mean, it's kind of, I feel directed by these ETs. When they want something, they'll make it happen. And you'll go, oh, okay, it makes sense later. Yeah.
Right.
So they wanted you to go to Roswell on some level.
They did. Yes, absolutely. And it's very interesting how my experience with the ETs helped me lose my victim vibe. And, my victimization and the energy that creates was responsible for a life where I wasn't fulfilled. And so the Greys were helping me lose that vibration. But, I had to figure that out. It wasn't like they sat in front of me and telepathically told me, you are a victim, lose it. I had to figure that out. But that's what they helped me with.
And I find the same thing. When I look back at my life, it was magically guided or it was beyond synchronicities. It was just it was just an amazing, magical, mystical life. And wherever I went, the ETs went. So I traveled from Pennsylvania. I was born in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and then I moved to State College, a small community. State College. Well, it's bigger than 500 people, but it's still a small community. And I found my ET UFO community, and that was back in 1989. So for some reason,
wow.
like, how did you and your neighbor start talking about ETs? Right? That's not something that I would go over even to my neighbor here. I've never talked to my neighbor here about ETs. Right?
That's right.
So how did that happen? How did you get into the conversation about ETs?
I need to think about how that happened.
But somehow you find these people, and you're talking about ETs. So when I was in State College, I was lost. It's Penn State University, big, people from all over the world, and it's like I found the ET group, and then I came to Hawaii, and it's not a common subject, and I found the ET group. And then I went to a conference about something completely different, and I found the husband who had worked with ET people. I mean, what are the odds? Because most psychotherapists are just doing normal stuff, but I met this man, and he's like, oh, yeah, I've done that before. In fact, he had worked with people in the 60s who had been part of ritual abuse and satanic cults. And I went, what? I mean, the ET thing is more common, but you worked with those people. So he had learned how to work with those people. And so I'm so blessed that, I'm learning it. But I would like, I'm 65, so it's like I'd like to pass this on to the next generation and get everybody trained so that they know how to really work with. I mean, it's easy when you're just sitting in a room and they go, yeah, I had this and that, and they're not in trauma. But I'd like, every once in a while, you're going to get the person that goes into a primal scream, and you need to know how to work with those people that are severely triggered. And I had a client come to us once, and he said, I'm a Manchurian candidate. And luckily I'd seen the movie. I go, okay, well, what do you want to do? He says, well, I have a keyword, and if you hit the keyword, I will kill everybody in the room. I go, okay. You have to tie me up, and you have to get someone that knows what they're doing to tie me up. So we had this guy, and he'd come every day for a session, and we'd had to tie him up. But we finally got to the root, and he was deprogrammed. Now that's intense, but you never know what you're going to encounter, because we have the regular ET stuff, we have the good ET stuff, and then we have the whole continuum to the dark stuff. So I'd like to. Yes. This is just my fantasy. Maybe there's a bazillionaire out there that wants to finance this, because I don't have the money, but I think if we could get to the retreat center.
Yeah, anything's possible. Right.
Maybe give scholarships to a certain percentage of people, and those who can afford to pay, so we can do this, because I think this is a service whose time has come.
Oh, yes. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's happening all around the world. Going back to the fear, I really have a pet peeve about a lot of these UFO shows, ET shows, and how they're all based on fear. You really don't see many that are. Yeah. In fact, I just did something new. The other day I made a video. I'm in the process of uploading it right now as we speak. And I did a review of the hit TV show Stranger Things, but I did the review from how Stranger Things depicts the paranormal. And I think it'll be up tomorrow. And in it, I talk about how, once again, even though this is a hit show, and there are aspects of it that I really like, but one of the things I really don't care about is, once again, it taps into the fear of, you have these paranormal abilities, and then you have this what happens? You meet a monster. And so I'm just waiting for a show where it's not all fear-based. Even the OA, I don't know if you watched the OA. I really like that show.
I did watch the OA. I did.
You didn't? You did?
I did, and it got canceled. It's canceled. We're not going to have season 3. No.
I'm someone else has to pick it up. That was a very intriguing show. Very, very, very intriguing show. So that had like a creepy factor to it. A creepy factor, but it didn't have like a monster scary thing about it.
Right.
Except for that octopus. So I would just like to see more shows where I'd like to see more shows where you can meet an ET and have a wonderful experience, and it can change your life, and that you don't have to get all skinny and turn white and go crazy like some of these shows portray experiencers. There's one show, I really don't want to mention it by name, but it's a pretty popular show. It has a color in the title, and I watch it. I think the second season is going to come out soon. I think it's only had one season. And I watch it because it's in this world that I'm in, but it's every single episode is just like wants to scare the hell out of you. Wants you to think that ETs and UFOs are horrible. I think
you'll have
it's
to send me this show out there so I can. But I watched season one of. No, I don't watch television. I'm over here. I watch Netflix, and I'm very selective. It's kind of like eating food, right? I don't want to put stuff like that into my psyche, so I keep myself. I still watch. My sister goes, "You haven't watched that show?" No, I don't have television.
I don't think it's on regular TV. The show I'm talking of. Maybe it is.
Well, if it isn't on, is it on YouTube or Netflix or? Yeah, so I don't know what it is. But I watched the first season of Stranger Things, and I got through it, and it has that MK Ultra My Labs type thing. And when the second season, I just said I can't do it. I can't do it. I could not. I haven't watched the second season yet. So what am I? There's just some resistance. Like I don't want to take that into my psyche. I don't know. Yeah. So there's so much else that's very interesting. And yet I can watch Handmaid's Tale. Oh,
I haven't seen that.
It's so good. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I should
try
it.
Well, I think it's good. It's really good. But what about Stranger Things? Go ahead.
Well, we have these secret government paranormal programs, the psychic warfare. That's been going on for a while. I'm going to be talking about this at my event at the end of September. And so Stranger Things shows that. And so, some people think that that's made up, but that's real. Our government has engaged in psychic warfare for a long time, and it's not just our government, it's the Russians and the Chinese and other governments. And this psychic warfare is not for the benefit of mankind. It's for nefarious reasons, And so China, at one time, it was very well known for having these super psychic children that the government was working with. Chances are they still are. I don't know why they would stop any of these programs. But the United States government has spent billions of dollars on this psychic warfare. And it's for real. They really want people to, look at a cat or look at an animal or look at a human and kill them with their mind. That's really what they want.
Ooh,
they want to be able to read their mind.
Like the goats.
Yes, yeah. And also they want to know, where hostages are or where the submarines are and things like that. But none of it is for the benefit of mankind. It's all just to make governments more powerful in a negative way.
Have you been approached by any programs that you're aware of? Are you in any programs, or have you been approached or recruited? Or any recruitment attempts?
I only mentioned this one time in an interview with Miles Johnston in the UK. And I talked about it very little because I started breaking down into tears, but I do have memories of my lab. And as I'm saying it to you, like my heart is starting to beat really fast. And so some of my memories are positive and some are not.
Right.
And they're really, really vivid, very, very vivid. And as I'm talking to you, like I have, these feelings rushing through my body. I don't really know if I want to talk about them. Maybe later. Right now, I'm still processing it. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a real thing. Our government's interested in a lot of things that they're not sharing, and our government knows that we have psychic powers. They know that, so they spend billions of dollars on it. They wouldn't do that if they didn't think it was for real, and if they weren't seeing benefits. They know that they're ETs, and they're debriefing people who've had contact with ETs. And sometimes it's a nice debriefing, and sometimes it is not. Has that happened to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been piecing this together. Well, I was on a military base. So you went to White Sands, right? And I was on Johnson Atoll. And I realized, looking at, especially writing up my story, that, and I've been told by different people as well, that I've been tracked because I have these natural psychic abilities. Or maybe it's because of it goes to the Allie Clark and Taken level, where they know which souls are coming into, be born into a human avatar. But just like in Star Trek, when they hover around a planet, they can say, well, there's one humanoid life on this planet, and it's over there, Apparently, our governments have that ability to know where the ETs are interacting with humans. Which humans?
Absolutely.
Now, there was one person who was it. It was the guy from Australia. He said that they've taken all 7 billion of us, but they at different punctuated times in their lives, in life. But they only select certain ones to go on for the lifelong program or for the hybrid program. And sometimes they come in before we're born, and they do things in the womb to genetically enhance. And a lot of it's based on genetics, and we're not sure what exactly they're looking for. It does not based on skin color, because you have people of all races, but it's some kind of genetics that a person has. One of my super soldiers says it's the metagene, and the metagene allows people to be like this enhanced psychic ability. The normal abilities that are turned off on most humans are kind of the switches on. So they can identify those people, and those are the people that the ETs identify. They've got the same technology, and we start having contact. So I've had contact since birth. I mean, literally, in the crib. I've recalled all that stuff. I suspect since you started, you were a young girl, it might have been going on before that, but you're having your first recollections. The more you do your hypnosis and therapy on it, the more the puzzle, unravels, and you start getting it. But when I landed on Oahu, they came up to me, and in hindsight, I realized that was the military. I moved all the way from Pennsylvania to Oahu, and I think that was kind of orchestrated for me to break up with my husband, who wasn't being nice to me. But, who knows what level. Can they go in and make somebody grouchy, right? Can they manipulate us to that level so that a relationship's working and then it's not? Yeah. But the next thing I know, I'm leaving everybody I know to get away from this dysfunctional relationship. And I've forgiven him, and I don't blame him. It was just what was going on. Yeah. And I'm over on Oahu with another man I met on the Internet, which I felt I could have a relationship with, but I ended up just having a brief affair, and we're still friends. But there was like this, everything still, in hindsight, seems to be orchestrated. Not playing victim, but I think that they can get us to do things. Like you said, go to White Sands and end up in Roswell. And have this, for some reason they wanted you in Roswell. And I'm looking at that aspect, like reviewing my life through that lens, and I go, oh, that wasn't random. That was orchestrated. And I think down to, and also interviewing people. I interviewed thousands of people, right? And it seems like they put our parents together. They want certain people to breed, certain people to raise certain children, so they have different, they're in the right location, or they have the different attitudes, and a lot of this is orchestrated, and that just sounds like one big victim. But I think in the divine plan, it's perfect because I feel that there are many species that love humanity, and I think this is a good form in which for us to experience life. So, have it and come in this, and I hope that they're going to help us stop, killing off all the species on this planet, because it's really getting heart-wrenching to watch the number of species that are disappearing. And when I go to council, I say, will you please get in here and intervene and stop this? This is insane. This is one of the richest planets in existence ever. And, we're losing so many species every day, every year. But it's an atrocity. But they tell me, well, we have everything backed up. It's like, well, big deal. It's still, do we really have to experience death? Huh?
They can't intervene, right? They can't intervene.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I have people, they say, yes, they've removed the non-interference clause, and they are intervening. Or things would have been a lot worse.
Okay.
But I've asked them to just come down here. I grew up with the day the earth stood still, right, 1951, with Michael Rennie. I said, go in and stop all the electricity and show yourself above every major city at the same time and say, we're here. And you're not allowed to shoot weapons anymore. You're not allowed to, disarm the atomic threat and, give us the new technologies to clean up the planet. And I've been to councils, and they see me coming and say, here comes Janet again. She's going to argue. Mm-hmm. But I do. I go to the councils. I'm like you. I speak up. I say, stop this crap. I think they are, but it's still a game. We're still in the game. Are we going to wake up tomorrow to a mushroom cloud, or are we going to, clean up the oceans with Greta at the helm, right? So what do you think? Back to you.
Well, that's one thing that they did tell me, the Greys and the other beings that I talk with or come in contact with, and is that it's really up to us whether we're going to blow ourselves up or not. And we're not destined to blow ourselves up. In every given moment we have a choice, and that is what part of the hybridization program is about. Is to, if we were to annihilate ourselves on this planet, then this planet would be reseeded again, and it would be with these hybrids, and there's billions of them, billions and billions of them. There's millions of people part of the hybridization.
Have you met your children?
That baby in the tube was one, and recently had an experience where I think I met two of them, but it was not like the stories I've heard where, you're hugging them and you don't want to leave them and they're yours. I haven't had that. I've come in contact with three babies, but I didn't feel anything from them. And while I was having the experience, I didn't even think they were mine. It's not until, I come back into my 3D reality, I'm like, I wonder if those were mine. So I've never had that lovey-dovey experience that some people have. Have you?
Well, I haven't had the traditional ones either. I was told that they like my DNA, and I don't think I'm anything. It's a vanity thing. They like my DNA, and they use it for. They can combine many different parents together, many different species. So they use my DNA because it's got that little magic thing that they're looking for, right? And so I literally I could have thousands of children, But I was shown a couple special children. There was one, I've never been able to give birth in this 3D form. And so when I met my husband,
I don't have kids either.
Right. And they said, we're not going to let you have children. They told me that when I was really young, and I was heartbroken because all my girlfriends were having children. And then I went through that. So finally when I met Sasha, and I was older, and I said, well, maybe, I was in my 40s, I said, maybe I'll have a child. Just want one. So one night they showed me our son, and it looked genetically like what this person would look like. And he was humanoid, but enhanced. And they showed me, and somebody else was holding him. an infant in the arms, and then he was a toddler, and then he was an adolescent, a teenager, and a young man, and they showed him up to about like age 25, and it was like one scene after another. I go, and I was just elated. I felt lots of love, and I came back and I said, well, honey, we're not going to have a son, but they showed me our son, and then I had a relationship with another man that I really loved, and they showed me my daughter. And that the daughter, they told me that I had actually conceived, but they don't want me going through the birth process and experiencing raising a child because it's too much of a distraction for my mission, what I'm supposed to do here. It would just take too much of my life force. So they showed me my daughter and by this other man. But when I was really young, and I started having sex at a pretty young age, like I wasn't planning it, but they sent this boyfriend to me, and he was really insistent. And then I was hanging out with older girls, so I started having sex, and then I started having too much sex, and I said, what is this about? I had told myself I'm not going to have sex until I'm 18, and you have me having sex, and this is pre-Roe versus Wade, and I didn't want to have to, I couldn't talk to my mother about birth control, and I said, stop this, I don't want to have sex, I don't want to do it till I'm older. And they said, well, we're taking the, if I have sex in even like the pre-com, right, any of the juices, the fluids, even in the vaginal wall, we're taking that, we're using it, so we're never going to subject you to an unwanted pregnancy. And they told me this when I was a teenager. I went, oh, okay, well, I'm still not going to be promiscuous, but, I understand. They said, we need to diversify your DNA and who you're involved with. I don't know why they weren't doing the traditional ones that we find out later, that they take the guys and, take there's something about the genetic material that comes from the process of making love. And they really want you to feel love. And that ties in what you said. They want empathy. They want love. They want compassion.
Yeah.
So they want children that are conceived in love.
Yes. And another thing I was told was that in the galactic system there are some beings that are a little worried about this huge stash of embryos. And what's going to happen to them? What if somebody gets a hold of them and turns them into killing machines? But they're not going to make good killing machines because they're all infused with love, and that is like not a good killing machine. You're not going to be successful. You look at our military and look at all the drama and the horrible things that happen to people when they go shooting at people and then they come home and they're a mess. So people who are infused with love, PTSD, they don't like to fight and they don't like to kill. Yeah, so whoever gets a hold of all these embryos thinks that they're going to create this amazing army. They're not going to be successful.
Well, that's an interesting thought that you would have that there was even that possibility. I would think that if the ETs that are doing this hybrid program had these children, that they would be pretty well protected. But that brings to mind, I had one super soldier, and he's now deceased, but he died of natural causes, I guess. It wasn't really natural. He died because he was in space too long, but it made his body age and deteriorate faster and have diseases. But that's another story. He was in the secret military, right? No, he was in the secret space program. But he said there was one time they asked him to hit somebody, and because the ETs they could not hit, they could not kill, and the reason why they were using humans, and they had hybridized him so he was able to be an assassin, he was able to be a soldier, right, and not feel that incredible remorse. But at the end of his life, since he had killed so many people, when people die, they attach to you, right? And so he was dying of kidney disease and all kinds of organ failure because he couldn't reconcile in his soul and his being that he had killed all those people, even though he did it as a patriot, even though he did it as a soldier. There's something, like you said, is true. It's just so horrendous on a person to kill another person. There's a soul level, karma level that you just can't eradicate. So he said to them, so he showed them. He he punched somebody, and then they said kill somebody. So he did. He demonstrated, and they said, well, we can't do that. That's why we've created this. So the soldier program, the super soldier program, they are being genetically altered and hybridized so that they can kill. And then often they get killed, and apparently they get put into the they call it the regen tank, the rejuvenation tank, and they are revived. And so my one super soldier friend, Penny Bradley, who's a woman, and she was taken into the program. She was like 4 or 5 years old. She said death is not an option because you're too valuable for them. So this is the dark side of all this that I don't, really like very much, but those are some of the people that are coming to me. And I think it's because I've done enough work on this and on myself that maybe I can take the tough cases now. But, boy, I would like to have some other people that are trained and we can work with the super soldiers because they are coming out of the woodwork too. And and just one more thing, and I'll pass it back to you. So you said that they were worried that these babies. So apparently, there's a cyborg. It's kind of like Star Trek's Borging system that they can take pure beings and cyborg them, and then they may not be used as killing machines. Not every one of them comes out like it could be a soldier, a killer. But some of them can operate like the transport ships that are going between the colonies.
Oh, yeah.
All these details are emerging. So I'm concerned. So what did they say they're going to do to protect these children?
Did
they give you indication?
No, there was just talk that in the galactic neighborhood that there is a concern because there's just like this, just all these embryos just sitting there. That's all.
Well, they told you because there must be something you can do. I would think logically. I mean, there's something that's going to happen that you can do something about it. I mean, you don't have to know right this second, but it's like they didn't tell me that. They told you. There must be something you can do, or you will be doing.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you for that. I never really thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what I do.
I could be wrong, but that's my psychic hit. I get psychic hits all the time.
Oh.
I have a high level of accuracy, by the way, but I'm not perfect.
I believe
I
it.
could be completely wrong. Yeah.
Now, I did have an experience only a few months ago.
Tell me.
Just like 5 months ago. And it's a shared experience that I had with a friend of mine who lives in Florida, and we were both taken at the same time, and we both saw the beings, and we both, came back to 3D reality with the marks on our bodies. And I saw a short, white, glowy being that walked into this room. I drew a picture of it. I don't know if I sent you the picture. I might have sent you the picture. Did I send you the drawing of the white dog?
Or something. Yeah, the dog, yes,
Right. So I wanted to ask you if you know anyone who's seen these white dogs. I know of only one other person, other than the girl that I had the shared experience with who lives in another state, who saw something similar, and his name is Chris Bledsoe. Do you know Chris Bledsoe?
I've tried to interview Chris. If you can get him on, I'd love to, but I didn't know he had seen the white dogs. So
he lives in North Carolina, actually, and we're trying to meet. Well, we talked on the phone, and so he has a very interesting experience. And the beings that he saw are the beings that I saw, and it was a tall blue being, and then a smaller, shorter white being that looked like it was like a walking light bulb, and then this dog, this four-legged white dog-like being. He's the only other person I know that's seen that. He's and they seem to travel together. These tall blues, these small whites, and this four-legged. And from what I'm understanding and from the information that I'm getting from them, is that's part of their life cycle. Part of their life cycle is to be like this four-legged creature and then to be this white smaller creature and then to be this blue being. And they're all part of the growth process. It's the different stages of their growth. Have you heard?
Oh, that's
do you know of anyone
like
who's
a
had
butterfly
this
and
experience?
No, you're the first time I'm hearing about that. So it might be like a butterfly turns into a what do you call it? Caterpillar turns into a butterfly, but this has three.
Yes.
And I've heard about that. I've heard that like the tall whites will be 6 or 7 feet tall, and then they have a growth spurt, and they'll be like 18 feet tall, and that's like the last 100 years of their life or something like that.
Oh.
So I've heard of that type of thing where they do change different parts of their lives. So did you get the sequence? Did they start out as the dog and go to the, which one did they start out as?
So I saw the white dog and the white being, and my friend saw the white dog and the tall blue beings. And I've seen the tall blue beings before, and I've communicated with them. And so she was in a ship, and in the ship were like these big vials and like these little beings, and these little beings would come out looking like this four-legged creature, and then they would turn into the white creature, and then they would turn into these tall blues. I call them the blue people.
Oh, the blue people.
And that's what I call them. Yeah, they're extremely loving, very, very loving, and very beautiful. And you can't really draw a picture of them because they're constantly moving. Like their energy is like these kaleidoscopes of waves of light, of different colored blues and a silver and like a flash of spring green, and constantly moving. I mean, they're just gorgeous, and just very, very, very loving. And they gave me information about Tchaikovsky, Disney, and Tesla. And they said that Disney and Tesla did meet once. And they said when you listen to the music of Tchaikovsky, that is written to activate certain packets of energy in you to help you ascend and to I wish I could find the exact quote or the exact.
We're running out of time here, and I'm going to send you some dates to have you come back in September or October. But if you can find that quote, and then we'll pick up. Remind me about where we left off about the Disney and Tchaikovsky and Tesla. And this will be on with my co-host, my husband, Dr. Sasha, so you'll get to meet him. And so before we end today's show, because we're running out of time, would you tell everybody your website again, your event again? And, you and I, we've got stuff to do together. I can tell that. So go ahead.
I'm excited about that. Thank you. I'm honored to work with you. My website is planetsev.com. There's actually a Sev Tok planet in the Star Wars galactic system that was named after me. And so it's planetsev.com. And I have a YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV, where I have videos about my encounters. And also I have a 10-part series on 10 ways to ascend all by yourself and several other videos. So, and I have the free help for experiencers called ET Encounters on my website, planetsev.com. And I have my event on September 28 in Annapolis, Maryland. If you can't be there in person, you can be there virtually, where I'm giving 3 talks, and you can get tickets and get more information on planetsev.com. And I think that's everything.
Oh, that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on, and I'll send you dates for the next show. We obviously have a lot more, and I wish you good luck on your event. So I hope that I meet you in 2020. I'm not going anywhere in 2019, but I'll be out in 2020 going back to different events. So I'm going to end today's show with, so thank you, much love and blessings. I'm going to end with today's show with Planet of Peace by Jaia Earthchild, our friend that lives in Australia. So much love and blessings and aloha.
We are all one human No one takes a breath saying this one's mine. We share the sun, we share the heat. It's time to learn to share the land in peace. You who govern choose to spend more on war than we can comprehend. We insist to share our wealth, food and water, homes and health, teachers, trees and medicine. Then the time of true peace can begin. We are all one human family, sharing one home. Our home is a planet of peace, planet of peace, planet of peace. You of every nation are family to me. I feel such consternation that you suffer while I walk free. I will do all that I can to help unite this family of woman, child, and man. The leaders of our nation, are they wise as well as strong, or boys in imitation, pointing daddy's gun, threatening the future, endangering us all? The people of all nations are united to end all war, for we are one human family, sharing one home, planet of peace.